Namaste, beloveds. This is Valerie Ames, aka Mother with Wisdom, and this is Christmas Eve. This is December 24th, 2021. And a lot has come forward this year as we are coming to a close of this year. And there's a lot. So I'm just going to get into it, beloveds. Um, I'm going to title this El Shaddai versus Babylon the Great Whore. And beloved, this particular video is going to be um, a combination of many things that I have already shared, as well as some new things. I also would like to invite you to um, listen to some of my broadcasts on Blog Talk Radio show as Mother with Wisdom. You can type that in the search and my show should come up. If you type spirituality, I'm sure I'll come up. On my Valerie Ames page on Facebook and on my YouTube channel, Valerie Ames, which I'm slowly learning how to utilize that platform. So be patient with me. I'm old. Okay, let me just get to this. El Shaddai versus Babylon the Great Whore. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I consider myself a firstborn daughter of the divine feminine. And I am here to help usher a deeper, more holistic, conscious awareness and awakening to what the divine feminine is, what that spirit is, what the essence of it is, what the frequency of it is, and the spectrums of it is. And when I say I'm entitling this particular show El Shaddai versus Babylon the Great Whore, I want you to understand that those are polarities. Those are polarities from the highest to the lowest. The highest being El Shaddai, the lowest being Babylon the Great Whore. And beloveds, I'm just going to free flow here, okay? I'm not going to filter myself. In Genesis, we find that we're introduced to the separation of light from darkness, separation of peace, stillness from chaos and movement, and the multiplication of these things from cellular to non-cellular, to seen and unseen, to form and formless. And so this is the constant state of what change and expanding change is all about. This is what the cycles and seasons are all about. Birth, death, rebirth. These are separations. These are increments of time that help us keep track of changes in our spiritual conscious awareness. There are times, just like with the phases of the moon, where things things go more, and the winter season, things go under, things go deeper, things go darker, so that things can grow from them in the spring. So that when the sun comes out, this is the rotating. This is the sharing of existence. This is understanding how circular and how secular existence is, and it is its nature to keep changing, and that is shown in in everything in creation, from the rings of the most ancient of trees to the water cycles that you see on the different strata layers of the earth itself when you start digging. On the womb, the female womb, the animal wombs, you see these cycles and these seasons. You see birth, death, and rebirth. Through the generations, we come to know about sharing genetic codes. And, beloveds, the separating and refining of these genetic codes in order to unlock and expand conscious awareness from the polarities of light and dark, beyond the spectrum of good and evil. We have yet to get there. But the more we are expanding our conscious awareness, the more we'll get there. And I'm just going to keep going with some things that I wrote, because, like I said, I got up this morning, I wrote this stuff down, and then I'm like, okay. And I got put on my regalia, and I'm like, let's go. And so here we go, beloveds. El Shaddai versus Babylon the Great Whore is the same as the true mother's nature versus the evil stepmother. And so, contradiction, polarities, contrast between light and dark, between good and evil, between the duality of existence is for you to choose where you feel most comfortable in the spectrum. And your spiritual choices influence not only you individually, but collectively. So there's mathematics going on, universal mathematics, divine mathematics going on at all times, multiplying, dividing, separating, adding, subtracting. So many different equations that the human mind couldn't even try to keep up with things. And the true mother's nature versus the evil stepmother's nature. And in every story, and I love stories, myths, fairy tales, and so on. Sometimes I even consider my own self a storyteller, because I've identified with these archetypes and the plots and the twists and the nature of existence expressed in so many diverse ways and forms. But they're all relatable, and you can always pick out certain aspects or characteristics, no matter how they present themselves to you. The archetype of the wicked stepmother, as seen in a lot of the fairy tales, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, and thousands more that just aren't coming from every corner of the earth, from every age, from every period. You have the juxtaposition of the good mother versus the evil mother. What the good mother wants and her ability to sacrifice, even. And what the evil mother or wicked mother is there to take away from the child that she has inherited from the good mother. She's there to subvert. She's there to not only contrast, but to break that spirit down, to separate her from her true identity, so to speak, that she gained from her parents. And so if you look at these stories of Snow White and Cinderella and whatever other was, Sleeping Beauty and all of these, you see the indications, you see the archetypes, you see the division, you see the shade, you see the lights, you see the contrast. You can determine what ground zero is. You see the cycles and seasons of change as the princess or whoever she is ages and comes into her own understanding of who she is. And she chooses her own stand. Okay. The next was the divine temple of existence versus the profane temple of existence. And I want you to understand the temple is your body. And the temple as our buildings as well. And temples are also structures of ideas and beliefs that have been constructed. And so Spirit is having me show with this the contrast and the distinction between the two. Even though the temple is one, there's a seen and an unseen. There's what is seen and there's the hidden. So you have the divine temple of existence versus the profane temple of existence. And you have the filtration process, the separation process, and you know which one you choose to attend. You know which one you learn. It's a learning process where you give your energy, your frequencies, your attention, and the lessons that you learn, that you endure, the suffering, the pain, the love, the good times, all of it is to help you understand your own frequency, to hone and bring about your highest existence. Bring about your existence into balance. Bring your awareness of your existence into balance. There we go. There we go. Because we always tend to want to zoom to the highest, but we have to, everything, like I said, is given to us in pairs. And so we have to understand what the pairs mean, what the pairs, the pairing, and the separation of the pairs means. And this goes to every single aspect of knowledge and wisdom, from light to dark, male to female, child to mature being, adult. There's so much that goes over our heads. There's so much that we need to bring back conscious awareness with in order to stabilize and bring balance about. And in doing that, we are going to have to make peace with those that don't want peace. Existence exists. And so we're going to have to find ways, just like in the body, there's good bacteria and bad bacteria. But you cannot let one overgrow the other one, or sickness, illness occurs. Let me keep going. Breast milk versus formula. That's a deep one. Breast milk, that milk, that nourishment is alchemically suitable to the child for who it flows for. It's distinguishable. It's everything that all the information, the codes and everything is inside that milk to feed and to nourish the codes of that child. When you have formula, you're receiving a generic version of an alchemical breakdown, but you're not receiving the spirit. You're not receiving the soul force of the nourishment. So you're receiving a portion of it, but you're not giving all of what the Creator designed. The truth versus the lie. It's very plain. We're living in a time now where our conscious awareness is really putting us in a position where we are being bombarded with truths and with lies. And it is our destiny, it is our purpose, it is our point in being at this point to be able to discern the wisdom between the truth and the lie, to separate the two. And by separating the two, you're separating yourself from a society that supports lies. So understand what is taking place. Birth, death, and rebirth. Creation and destruction is taking place. And that is what you're feeling. And we're feeling it like never before. And these times are called the end times, the Great Tribulation. And they're called that for a reason, because a separating work is taking place. And it's a time of intensity of thoughts, an intensity of feelings, of emotions, of physical ailments within the body, of being tired, of spurts of energy, of longings and was cravings and hungers and thirsts, just running rampant, all because of this separating work that is taking place. And beloveds, please understand that the global climate change has a lot to do with all of these things that I just spoke on within your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your cravings, your hungers, your mental anxiety, your mental peace, your feeling vulnerable one minute, your wanting to lash out the next. All of this is geared towards you becoming more aware of your conscious awareness as existence and that everything is one. You cannot separate yourself from global climate change. You cannot separate yourself. You cannot keep lying to yourself and say, well, that's a lie, that's a hoax, when every winter and every summer you're starting to see the changes from where the sun was at one point to where it is now, from the time of day when daylight was there and when there's no daylight. The winters are no longer as cold as they once were. The summers are hotter, record temperatures, storms are taking place. All of this is because there is a separating going on. And that separating is the same separation that we read about in Genesis. The light from the dark, the chaos from the peace and stillness. The birth or the separation of the Homo spiritus from the Homo sapien. That which is ruled by the senses versus that which is ruled by or led by instinct and intuition, not appearance. The compassion and unconditional love of the Christ consciousness versus the spirit of the world, which is dog eat dog. That's a deep one, beloveds. That's a real deep one. The compassion of an unconditional love of the Christ consciousness. And that's what we're seeing being born, re-entering into our conscious awareness once again. And we're becoming more aware of it because of the contrast of the dog eat dog world, the lies, the blatant disregard of the divine feminine, the blatant war against the divine feminine and everything that she stands for. The spirit of the dog eat dog world, which is competition, which is power, which is greed. These are the works of the flesh versus the fruitage of the spirit, so to speak. So understand these many contrasts. Identifying true prophets from fake prophets, love versus money and power. Identifying true prophets from fake prophets. And there are many beings who claim that they are prophets, that they are from the divine spirit, from the divine highest spirit, but they are in fact low vibratory spirits pretending and preying upon your conscious awareness. And they're using half-truths to attract you and to trick you. And This is what, and nothing is new under the sun, beloveds. And do not fault yourself for being tricked by these individuals, because these individuals have ancient spiritual frequencies who have observed and witnessed the beginning of the earth, the beginning of the stars, the beginning of life, the beginning of existence as we are just now coming to know it and remember it and exist within it. So, marketing, selling, branding, optimizing profits is what they do. Recruiting is what they do. They know the right bait to use because they read you. They read the longing within you, the spiritual longing. They read your longing for love, for unconditional love. And they take advantage of you. This is what false prophets are. This is what they do. And this is where the topic for this video comes in. El Shaddai versus the whore of Babylon. The whore of Babylon the Great. You have to understand the two archetypes. You have to understand the two spirits. You have to understand the nature of these mothers. One is the true mother and one is the wicked stepmother. There to profit and gain power over your inheritance. Understand, these are ancient philosophies. And these are oral traditions and stories that have been passed down for reasons. These are biblical stories. These stories are in scriptures. These stories are within us. And we relate to them for reasons. Reasons of many lifetimes lived within their context. Fake prophets. False prophets. False prophets want to use you to skim and to scheme your spiritual inheritance away from you. Very simple. Very simple. How do they do that? They do that by lying to you through doctrine and dogma, commands, commandments, tricks of divination, spiritual mediumship, all kinds of things. Like I said, none of this is new, beloveds. If you read the Bible, if you read the many different ancient stories from all across the globe, you will find these same stories. And it's always the dynamic of El Shaddai versus the great whore of Babylon, this wicked stepmother, that which wishes to strip you of your identity, that which wishes to strip you of your legal spiritual inheritance by any means necessary, by enslaving your mind. By enslaving your mind, they minimize your spirit, because your mind becomes your master versus you being led by your spirit. Um, Speaking of money and power and where we are today, bringing all of this into relevance for this now moment beyond time and space. And I want you to connect all the dots and see how we got to this moment, why we're in this moment, and what we need to witness, observe, pay attention to in order to resolve and bring about the change and the changes that are necessary for the collective to move forward in expanding our conscious awareness, not as a secret society, but as a wholesome family, divine family, sharing the earth, being caretakers of the earth, being caretakers of the animals, and being caretakers of each other. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. And as I keep myself, I keep her or him. I am not separate from them. Their children are my children. Their problems are my problems. Their pain is my pain. Their gain is my gain. Their happiness, their bliss is my bliss. With no pettiness, with no resentment, with no judgments, with no jealousy or envy, or the needing to bring strife into a situation just because. Let me move forward. Antichrist. And Spirit gave me, and Spirit's been giving this to me for a while now. And it's coming through because I've been witnessing different things that I had no clue and could not connect the dots with, did not connect the dots with, and did not see how it was impacting my life, impacting existence, period, from my grandparents on forward. Antichrist. And these are words, beloveds. Trump came up, Brooklyn came up, housing came up, legal actions came up, boule came up, gatekeepers came up, those in the Black community who are part of secret societies came up. Those that stay in power through the enslaving of others' spiritual will came up. And let me just keep going. Dr. York, Republicans, money, power, money and power through the exploitation and denigration of generations. And beloveds, Spirit was really clear with these words. The exploitation and denigration of generations. Based on loyal servants to their masters who live by the words of their master's desires. You cannot serve two masters. And what was shown to me through this, I grew up during the time of Black movies, Black exploitation movies, or whatever you want to call those movies. I grew up watching Cicely Tyson. I grew up watching Sounder. I grew up watching Roots. I grew up watching all these things. And I grew up born to two migrant workers. My first understanding of life was communal. Okay? And we were poor as dirt, honey. We were dirt poor. But we were family. Everybody knew everybody in that little place. Everybody worked, everybody understood what was going on. And it was what it was, and it is what it is. But when you understand, you always have these beings, whether they're in slavery, they're the overseers, or they're the ones who will spy and tell on you, and they're just like you. They undergo the same things as you, and they're seen as the same things as you, but they seek to curry favor by telling on you, by lowering you, devaluing you to whoever is, I guess, in a superior position. These beings exist. Uncle Ruckus on Boondocks. Um, Samuel L. Samuel L. Jackson's character on Django. These individuals exist. And just as they exist as individuals, they exist as secret societies. And the black race has this blind spot when it comes to their own preying on them. And Spirit is saying that needs to come more into our conscious awareness. We need to really see things from where they're coming from. And just because this is where the false prophets is coming into play. And like I said, I don't know much about Dr. York or any of that, but that has been surfacing lately for me in the so-called conscious community. And if you look at what this man allegedly has been charged with, you understand that this man is a gatekeeper, that he was involved in human trafficking of black children, molestation of black children, through the dogma and documents and philosophies of false prophets. He was revered and is revered by those who still believe and want to believe, need to believe. Again, I don't know why Brooklyn, Dr. York, I think of New York, okay? It really needs to be understood as, from what Spirit is saying, a central grid point on the world map is what I'm being shown and told. Okay, New York, New York, New York, city of dreams. Wow, there's so much there, beloveds, and there's so much that's whoa. Okay, I'm seeing this, the Statue of Liberty. Okay, and the Statue of Liberty was originally a black woman. There's so much, like I said, this divine feminine right now. There's so much. There's so much. And these male energies, these false prophets, these are the sons and daughters of Babylon. who are leading you into Babylon through their lies. And they're trapping you there through the vices, through the energy, from your desires for better. And they put this false light on it so that it's like fool's gold to you. And you think you're getting all these riches and all of this and all of that, and it's worthless. To your spirit, it's worthless. To your temple, it's worthless. And it sets you up for incarnating again and again in its lower frequencies. So there is a price, and that price is being paid to them. And many feed upon draining your power away from you. And they only can do it if you have a weak mind. Guard your spiritual mind. Guard your spiritual body. Work with your fleshly mind. Work with your fleshly body. Work with your fleshly understanding and feelings and desires, but filter them through the Spirit. Separation work for a time, for a cycle, and for a season. So, beloveds, I was going to find the scripture that spoke about this being for a time. All of this being allowed to go on for a certain period of time. And then an end would be put to the cycle, to the season. An end is coming to the cycle and the season of this separating work as we have endured it for these millennia. Okay? Everything must change. Change is the process of allowing separation to reach and expand conscious awareness, to reach an expanded conscious awareness. Let me say that again. Everything must change. Change is the process of allowing separation to reach an expanded conscious awareness. And so there it is with the timing. How do you know the timing? You'll start noticing the changes and know that the changes are the process that is allowing the separation to reach an expanded conscious awareness. So our conscious awareness is expanding, and that is why the changes are taking place. And you need to be able to observe that and anchor that and allow yourself to stay in the flow of that. Existence exists. This is unlimited conscious awareness of change. Change happens in the womb. Choose the womb carefully. Choose the womb carefully of which you choose to be born and reborn from. The womb which you choose to be nourished from. The womb in which you choose to marinate, to be nurtured in. The womb that is your temple. The womb of El Shaddai or the womb of the great whore of Babylon. Choose carefully. Another thing, existence exists. This is unlimited conscious awareness. As I spoke of the contrasts and everything, understand that with these changes that are taking place, there is a merging of there's a merging of a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, a lot of multiverses, a lot of time cycles and seasons, past, present, and future. Um, there is no need to fight or kill or get yourself in such an anxious state over somebody else's opinion or view or belief. Ground yourself in your expanding your own conscious awareness and allow them to expand theirs. This is the wisdom. This is the law, universal law of polarity in motion. Everything is connected. These are universal laws. And that was that portion. And I'm gonna cut this off because I want it to be a separate video, beloveds, of just this. The next video will be a repetition of some things that I've shared in the past. And I hope you listen to those as well. Thank you.